on to look at how critical it is if we refuse to bear fruit. The seriousness of non-bearing fruitful life, or a life that does not bear fruit, how serious it is. I'm afraid say a Bob Brandy and Brown on the Swamba. Yen to grand in young Swamba now, you think. Yeah, and 1 3 January, Messi, the young Swamba, young Swabby. Yeah, pa, and the one young Swamba. Yeah, and I see, and I found my 1 was sad. And as I say, the Swamba. And as a panel, did you know? Mobile point na fe matraso Lucas empano tibumi ensa chimunsia kosi nkron ene beti was empano so ti edu ba. How serious is it not bear fruit? John chapter 15 1 and 2, 13 6 through 9, Matthew 21 18 through 22. Let me take the readings in English. John chapter 15. I'm reading at verse 1 and 2. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Luke chapter 13, I'm reading at verse 6 through 9. Luke chapter 13, 6 through 9. He also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit in it, and found none. Then he said to the keeper of the vineyard, "Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit in this fig tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground?" But he answered and said to him, "Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well, but if not, after that you can cut it down." Matthew chapter 21. Matthew chapter 21, we read from verse 18 through verse 22. Matthew chapter 21, verse number 18 to verse number 22. Let us hear the word of God. Now in the morning, as Jesus returned to the city, he was hungry, and seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves, and said to it, "Let no fruit grow on you ever again." Immediately, the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, "How did the fig tree wither away so soon?" So Jesus answered and said to them, "Assuredly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, 'Be removed prayer, believing, you will see. Hallelujah. Bearing fruit. How serious it is if the Christian do not bear fruit. How serious it is if the Christian doesn't bear fruit. How serious it is if you live a fruitless life as Christians, people who have been called by God and God expecting us to bear fruit. First of all, let us note that the fruit that is expected of us to bear is expected of us by God. It is God Himself who is expecting us to bear fruit. And the account in John chapter 15 stresses that when we bear fruit, we do also bring glory to our Father. Our fruits bring glory to our Father, the one who owns us and has given us life in His Son, Jesus Christ. Says that when we bear fruit, it is glorious. It brings glory unto Him. And that is why He wants us to bear fruit. Now, John chapter 15, verse 1 and 2 that we read, says that if we do not bear fruit, God will cut the tree that does not bear fruit down and cause them to be bent. And so how critical it is. My first submission, why it is so important for you and I to bear fruit, as illustrated in John 15, is because if we do not bear fruit, we will be cut down. Now, just as the unfruitful branch in the vineyard is cut down and burnt, so also is the Christian whose life does not produce results. And it is so interesting for us to watch out that the branch is in Christ, but the branch does not bear fruit. It will be cut off and it will be bent by God. May I submit what this kind of Christian or these kinds of Christian refer to? Who are those branches that are in the vine and yet to not produce one in the church? Who is the one who claims to be a Christian and yet wouldn't bear fruit? The Luke 13 will help us to throw some light. In Luke chapter 13, I read to you verse 6 to verse 9, which talks about the fact that a man who had a vineyard went into the vineyard seeking fruit, but he did not find any. So he told the keepers of the vineyard, the garden keepers, that they should cut the trees off, the fig tree that couldn't produce fruit. What the use of it for them to be dwelling on his land, occupying space, and yet producing no fruit? Then the gardener said, Master, we beg, please. Though these trees have been here for 3 years, may we beg for 1 more year? Let us add a year onto the 3 years already chopped. After the 4th year, if there are no fruits, if the fig trees do not produce fruit, the one who claims to be a Christian but does not bear fruit can be explained using Luke 13. Now, when Jesus said this parable and he was throwing more light, then the illustration from the mustard seed, the parable of the mustard seed, and the parable of the living bread were given in verse 18 of the same Luke 13 to verse 20, where Jesus says that the kingdom life could be likened to a mustard seed, such that the seed will begin small, but the seed grows to become a large tree. And like a yeast, small amount of yeast that is added into, let's call it dough for bread baking. A little yeast is added and the dough is known to become big or large. Now, it is effective. How small the yeast may be, its impact is felt. Mustard seed, small it will begin, but it grows to become large, and it is seen, and birds even come and make their nest on the branches of this mustard seed that grows to become a mighty tree, a big tree. The Christian, the one who claims to be a Christian, but whose life are absent with the fruit of the Spirit, is unfruitful Christian. If we claim to be Christians, but our life do not produce the fruit of the Spirit, we are unfruitful Christians. If a Christian lives a life that is hypocritical, the life is unfruitful. And we get this picture when we take the Matthew chapter 21 story, where Jesus himself saw a fig tree, very blossom, appearing to be having and possessing fruit. Jesus goes nearer to this fig tree, which from outside appears to be having fruit. But when Jesus actually went to the fruit, it was deceptive. It was hypocritical of the tree. It was only leaves, the story says, that Jesus found, but no fruit, the most essential. And so, if we liken ourselves into this story, then for the individual Christian who is living a hypocritical life, who is portraying to be what he is not, he is or she is, we proclaim